Tell us first of all how that happened.
You know, life is so complicated. What you think is going to happen, which was essentially, until it fell apart, my father was going to resign as commissioner at the end of the year, rebuy his team, the Philadelphia Eagles, and there, little Upton Bell would live happily ever after as the owner's son. Spoiled or not, who knows? He drops dead on a Sunday, the bank calls off the deal, the Eagles are now going to be up for sale, and basically Upton Bell has no place to go except his good friend Carl Rosenblum, who he actually had persuaded not to leave Penn as a star halfback back in the 30s. He comes up with Rosenblum, decides he's going to be the owner to bring the team, the Colts, back to Baltimore, arranges the financing. Rosenblum ends up as the owner of the storied Baltimore Colts. What happens is 1958, I'm at the Sudden Death Championship game, see the greatest players of their time then, their own dynasty. They repeat, I'm there in 1959. So 1960, the summer arrives, and I say what I'm going to do. So I called Carol Rosenblum, who lived right down the street from us in Atlantic City, in Margate. And he said, kid, come over, and we'll talk about your future. So I went over, and it's ironic that that night he had the Democratic National Convention on. John F. Kennedy had already been nominated. Rosenblum, who was a great friend of Joe Kennedy's, who was on the floor during that whole week helping the line up delegates, was back home watching it on television with another person by the name of Colonel Gottlieb, where the hell he ever came from. But there are a lot of characters in my life. And they're playing this game called Shut the Box. And I'm saying, what the hell is this? It's a game where you kind of roll the dice, and then if you can finally shut the box completely, you win the money. Well, I'd never seen, they were just having a good time, and I had never seen a situation where hundreds of dollars are being exchanged. Now, Rosenblum was a multimillionaire, and they were just playing for fun. So he said to me while he's watching the TV, and first of all, he said, everything that I win tonight I'll give to you. And I'm saying, you've got to be kidding me. Well, by the end of the evening, he won $500 in cash. Remember, it's 1960. He handed me the cash. He said, go out and have a drink or do something, kid. In the meantime, he said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I want you to go to training camp this summer, Western Maryland. You still have another year of college left. Go down there, start to learn the business, and then when you're through college, I will give you a job. How many people would say that? Mm-hmm. He said, I loved your father. He said he was the greatest commissioner ever. He got me into the game. In the meantime, this is part of history and the politics that we're seeing today. On the screen, you saw a picture down on the convention floor of Teddy Kennedy. Bob Kennedy was down there, and he said, mark my words, John F. Kennedy will be president, but the greatest politician as a Kennedy is going to be Teddy Kennedy. Now, that's before he even ran for office. He was considered a playboy. I mean, all the reputation about him would have equaled Bill Clinton before he became president.
And also, Teddy Kennedy was very young at the time. He was still in his 20s.
Oh, early 20s.
Yeah.
But he said, I saw in him something that his personality was bigger than life, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I said, okay, left that night with my $500. And 2 days later, I get in my car, and I was thinking in my long drive to Baltimore. In those days, it was almost 4 hours from Philadelphia. I said, this is the end of my life. I'm probably never going to come back here again. And it started to hit me. And, I am still getting over the loss of a father that was bigger than life, was fun. He died so quickly at a football game. He was gone, and I never got to him in time. So I'm thinking about all these things, and I said, what's going to be like here? I'm still, even though I'm 22, 23, I'm still basically a kid in some ways, although I've been brought up in an adult world. So I get to the Colts training camp of Western Maryland, and there are thousands of people there. And people today talk about where it's so publicized and the NFL pushes everything. The Patriots have been great for 20 years and they get big crowds. But you might get 10,000 people on this little campus in a day. And I said, oh my God, am I going to a coronation or the Colts camp? So I get there, push my way through the crowd. Somebody said, you're Upton Bell, we've been waiting for you. Go up to the locker room and see Freddie Schuback, the equipment manager. I walk in the locker room. Now, again, I've been around football players my whole life, lived with them, but you're talking about walking in a locker room, and here they are. They're all in the Hall of Fame today. Art Donovan, one of the greatest of his time. His father refereed more championship heavyweight boxing match than anybody in history. Gino the Giant Marchetti, the guy that broke his leg and sat in the sideline just to watch the end of the game at the sudden death game. Johnny U, the guy that played for $7 a week in a semi-pro league and today is the biggest name in America. If you think Joe Namath, if you think Tom Brady, if you think all of these Patrick Mahomes were big, this guy, without all of the extra publicity, you couldn't go anywhere that people didn't know him as Johnny U. Then you had Spats, Lenny Moore, Hall of Fame, all these guys, Hall of Fame. Raymond Berry over in the corner, actually, I've heard all these stories about one leg is shorter than the other. It's true. He was over there, somebody said, everybody throws their equipment in, but Raymond Berry said he's over there washing his own pants. You know what I'm saying? You got to be kidding me. There he is over in the corner, washing his own pants.
One of the greatest receivers in NFL history.
He was named to Unitas, Jim Parker, Gino Marchetti, Don Shula, Eubank. Everybody I met that day, now I think that was 60 years ago. They're in the Pro Football Hall of Fame and named among the 100 greatest of all time. But when you walked in there, you would never know it. It was like being in the middle of, and I've always loved locker rooms. I've never gotten over the idea. I've gone on, had a terrific life, radio, television. But if you ask me, when I left home, it's when I left the last locker room of a pro team. There is nothing like it. Even when they're fighting among each other. That's your family. And more so then. They're the people you're with, through good and bad. And you could feel it in the locker room, kidding around, laughing. You know, they had Big Daddy Lipscomb, who could have been a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest entertainers I've ever seen. Hey, kid, come on over here. Let me show you a few things. And he'd do magic tricks.
In the locker room.
And this was at the end of two-a-days. Today they only practice once a day. This is two-a-days, and you're hitting each other. So that first impression will always be with me. Those people that later on became legends in Canton, you would never think of them that way. You wouldn't think of them, that you would think that these people would never have a cell phone, would never be tweeting and Instagramming, and even if it was available to them, they wouldn't do that. That wasn't who they were. Many of them, as I think I've told you before, when I went to the Chicago Bears camp in 1946, these are men that came back from war. Gino Marchetti, you would never know, at the age of 17, fought in the Battle of the Bulge. Art Donovan on a ship in Midway. Many of the people there saw what war was like. They saw death. So they kid around and everything, but there was a maturity that you'll never see today.